Cool. Thank you, firstly, everyone, for coming. Talofa lava, and very grateful for all of you to be here. For those who I have not met before, I'm Sucharu Tandon. I'm the country head for ANZ in Samoa. Next to me is Mr. Shayne Elliott, and next to him is Ms. Sarah Stubbings, who's our regional executive looking after all the Pacific countries ANZ has operations in. You may recall that back in September, we had Ms. Antonia Watson visit us, and today we are delighted to have Shayne. Shayne's visit is part of our ongoing commitment to bring senior executives from ANZ to Samoa to learn from their thoughts and insights and also share the impact we make in Samoa. This is Shayne's first visit to Samoa, but the 11th country in this year that you have visited, Shayne. To welcome him, our staff just hosted a mesmerizing Awa ceremony. That was our way of sharing the proud culture of Samoa with Shayne. While this is Shayne's first time in Samoa, he's not really a stranger to Samoans. And we learned last night that his aunt is, was Samoan. So you might be interested in that, and we are delighted to have Shayne, and I'll pass it on to you, Shayne, to make your remarks.
Oh, thank you. So it is my first time here. As you know, ANZ is actually quite old company. We're almost 200 years old, and we started our very first business was in another island, an island we now know as Tasmania, was where we started. And our second business was in another island, the North Island of New Zealand, which we started in 1840. And then progressively we've added and grown our businesses across the Pacific and into Asia. And today we have 29 markets where ANZ operates. And what we do, I think, that is unique and different to many of the other banks. What we really bring is connectivity, the ability to connect Samoa with the rest of the world through business and people and through those 29 countries. So it's important for me and my team to come and meet our people and meet our customers and understand the challenges in Samoa. All of our countries have challenges. All of our countries have change. All of our countries need to adapt, but it's good to come and understand firsthand what those challenges are, those changes, and how ANZ can play a role in developing a better, more prosperous Samoa for the people. So that was the purpose of the visit, and it's been a great pleasure to be here. I'm happy to answer questions.
First off, I know that ANZ has been in the Pacific for quite some time. Could you please explain what are some of the new projects that ANZ will be offering for not only Samoa but for the Pacific?
Sure. So we've actually been in the Pacific since 1880. So in Fiji was our first market, and then Papua New Guinea actually in 1910. And now we operate right across the Pacific. So some of the things that are changing is really, I would put them into two categories. I think the one thing is technology. So as we know, technology continues to change. And, the people of Samoa deserve the very best services, just like anybody else. And it's really about our opportunity to bring new technology services so that people can do their banking in the most convenient way possible. And so I think that's where we continue to invest and to find better ways for people to make payments and manage their own money. So I think you'll continue to see developments in technology. The second big change has been around, and the big challenge actually for the Pacific has been this issue around correspondent banking. And so correspondent banking, what does that mean? Basically, for people in Samoa to make payments internationally or to receive money internationally, we need banks, a network of banks to work together. Yeah? So ANZ needs to work with banks internationally. If you want to send money to the United States or to Japan or China or whatever, that's called correspondent banking. And what's happening, sadly, and for good reasons, for good regulatory reasons, correspondent banking is becoming very much harder for many global banks to do because the risks of it are much greater because we worry about things like money laundering and criminal behaviour. And so and that's not to do with Samoa specifically, just in general, globally. And so as a result of those concerns and a result of increased regulation, banks all around the world are withdrawing services and saying, it's too difficult, it's too risky, we don't want to be in that business anymore. And the correspondent banking network has actually shrunk by about 30% globally over the last 10 years. It's a lot. But in the Pacific, it's shrunk by 60%. Because the Pacific is a lot of relatively small economies, and a lot of banks find that too difficult. The Caribbean's another area where that's happening. So what we are working on with government, the Australian government, Samoan government and various governments, and including people like the World Bank, is how do we protect the people of the Pacific from that? How do we ensure that people, communities, businesses maintain access to international finance, because it's so important. And so that's what we're working on, and that investment. And we recently, you may have seen in the media actually, there was an announcement that ANZ's working with the Australian government in particular to establish some new systems and processes, and we're getting some support to ensure that banks like ANZ are able to stay and continue to support the people of Samoa and right across the region.
Just to follow up on, on that, with the closure of the banks that was mentioned earlier in some of the articles mentioned from overseas, what was the sole purpose of why you guys are closing the branches in the Pacific?
Oh, yeah, so actually branches, so physical presence like we have here in this building, they've been closing and changing for 200 years in a funny way. I mean, you're like, the footprint of banking changes all the time. And it, not just in Samoa, everywhere. Australia, New Zealand, everywhere. Why? Because our customers change. Our customers change their behaviour. And as new technology comes, for example, and people have phones and they want to do their banking on the phone, they don't want to come to the branch. And so what we find is, in many cases, the branches, they don't have any customers in them anymore. And so we have to continue to change our footprint. So I don't think there'll ever be a time where there will be no branches, but the branches themselves will continue to change. Yeah. And so it's really in response, just like any business, we have to respond to what our customers want. And at the moment, there's an increasing desire from customers to do things on their phone or on their computer at home and not need to come to the branch. And so we will continue to adapt to that. I mean, in many ways, our branch today is a mobile phone. That's our number one branch. That is how people think of their bank today. Many customers never go to a branch because they don't need to. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
We all know that it's more than 4 banks here in Samoa. What makes ANZ different from the other banks?
Great question. So obviously we're better, but I think the real difference. So in 4 banks is good in the sense that it creates competition, right? And each bank has to find its niche and what it does differently. I think the really big difference at ANZ are the 2 things I talked about before. One is technology. Because we bring the very best technology, I think the technology at ANZ will always be better than our peers because we're bigger, because we actually have the benefits of being in 29 markets and all the capacity to do that. So I think the technology, and the second one is the network. We are an international bank. So, we've already seen customers here today that not only are we banking businesses, their business here, we can actually extend and bank them in New Zealand or Australia or Fiji or wherever they might be as well. And that's a unique difference that the other banks in Samoa don't have. So I think those are the 2 really very special points of difference.
In terms of loans, is ANZ different in terms of local applying for loans? Because that is the number one challenge, speaking for Samoan alone. The community is struggling in trying to get loans from banks they are banked with. I'm not talking negative about any other banks, but it's just a question that it's easy for people to go to the NPF because before they don't need so many documents.
Sure.
But when they go to the bank, it's not only they require to get a lot of documents in order for them to get a loan, but it's the waiting as well.
Sure.
Do you think ANZ is doing differently in terms of approving loans?
Sure.
For the community?
No, it's a fair question, and maybe I'll get you to answer it in particular. So that's an issue everywhere in the world, and I totally understand. Remember, banks are very heavily regulated, which is a good thing. So we need our banks to be safe. Remember, the number one priority is we need to protect our deposits. So if you deposit money in a bank, you need to know it's safe. And ANZ is one of the highest rated banks in the world, with our AA rating. So we are one of the safest banks in the world. So that's the most important thing. So we need to make sure that our balance sheet is strong. that we have a lot of capital, and that when we do make loans, we do them prudently. Because if we make loans and don't get repaid, then we can't support our depositors. So yes, banks are tougher, they have higher standards in general, but also because of regulation. So people who lend money, who are not banks, don't have the same regulation that we do. So our regulators require us to know a lot about the businesses or the people that we lend to. And so we need to be able to show in evidence that we've made prudent decisions based on data, their accounts, their history, etc. So I understand that at times it can feel burdensome or bureaucratic, but we do that to ensure that the bank is safe and here for the long term. And that's why ANZ gets to be 196 years old, because we've been prudent and safe. I think though your question is a fair one in the sense that sometimes it can be very bureaucratic. And so what we need to do is find better ways to understand our customers' financial position, better ways to analyse that quickly and come back with answers. But you might want to talk a little bit about any changes we're seeing here.
So really good question. I think from a local perspective, one of the important element that we see in Samoa is that when people want to borrow, their understanding of how much they can afford to borrow is not enough. So our role as responsible lenders is actually to help our customers understand what they... For me to say yes for everything is not a good outcome for ANZ as well as for our customers. So the important element is us investing the time to understand from our customers what do they want and how can we play a part. Sometimes it is about saying, actually, you need to demonstrate a bit of savings to get to that point before you're ready to be able to borrow that kind of money, or you need an equity. So that's important. The second part is locally, for all our businesses, we make decisions here, right? So we make our decisions here. We can turn around things quickly, but as a industry, Samoa has some really exciting initiatives happening, like a credit registry as an example. You would have heard, as those things become live and people start using it, we get to know a bit more about customers and their risk profile. Therefore, lending decisions become faster. And then the last part is, as Shayne alluded before, data is very, very important, right? Knowing your customer, understanding when you see their transactions, what's coming in and out and what their habits are, will help us guide those decisions. And that's a journey I think even the developed markets are still going through, of how we use the data we have in the best possible way for the benefit of the bank, our consumers as well. So there's a lot that is underway, but locally speaking, it's really important that we play a part as a responsible lender, not just a lender that always says yes no matter what the situation is.
Mr. Tendon, as a responsible lender, as a responsible bank, are there community programs to improve financial literacy?
Oh my God, you just asked a brilliant question.
No, I know, but you can talk. So, if you think about the purpose of ANZ, yes, we're a bank, yes, we are a commercial enterprise, yes, we need to be profitable, but our purpose, the reason we exist, is to shape a world where people and communities thrive. So, in order for people and communities to thrive, they need a few things, right? Yes, they need access to credit, responsibility, yes, but actually financial literacy, like understanding finances, is a foundational piece. So we have a role in that. So before we start just lending or taking deposits, we need to be really conscious of how do we improve the community's understanding of financial literacy, savings. So we know that the number one thing your financial health, it's like your physical health, but your financial health, we know the number one thing you can do to improve your financial health is to have a regular savings habit, like saving. Doesn't matter how much you save, but if you regularly save money, your financial health is improved a lot. Yeah? That means when something goes wrong, you've got money aside if the car breaks down or the kids need something for school or something. So having savings is really important. And we know that habit you can learn to save. And so what we do is we run a number of programs with partners to help educate people around good financial habits, savings, budgeting, and in fact we're doing we've got some work today. Do you want to talk about the specifics of the program here?
Yeah, so we run a financial literacy program called Money Minded. That's not just in Samoa, across the Pacific and across our ANZ network. It is a flagship program which allows us to sort of share the skills that as bankers we are known for, right? Which is, how do you balance your books, right? How do you make sure that you are living within your means? How do you make sure that you're saving for a rainy day? So we do that. In the last, say, 12 to 14 months or so, we've done over 400 of those in Samoa. We've done it, all the new police that joined, we've run training courses for them. That significantly helps them build a better future for their communities. We've done it with church groups. Later today, actually, right after this, we are going to meet women in business development. And we have just concluded a program with them where it was farmers and members of the community, and the feedback was so beautiful. Everyone who came out of the program said, I wish I had learned these skills earlier. So it is a really impactful way of us being part of the community and making sure that we are sharing and helping uplift the financial literacy culture.
There's the thought of introducing this working with the Ministry of Education and introducing it at the school level.
Yeah, look, I have had some of that discussions. It's sort of very early stages, but I think, the more we can share of that program, both on Money Minded for basic savings, but also Money Minded for basics for business, right? How do you start thinking about business? What do you need? All that element. So yes, absolutely, it is something that, and we have some really good partnership outside of Samoa. We partner with Markets for Change program with the United Nations, and we also have various other connection points. So the idea is, this is a program, as media, if you guys find opportunities, send it our way. We are ready to invest in that, and we continue to do that through our time and effort, and our team feels incredibly passionate because we can see the impact we can create in the moment.
Thank you for that. Another question is, I'm hearing protecting, ensuring that your customers are safe. One thing that I've noticed is the challenge that the banks face in terms of your own people, your own workers. You are focusing on ensuring that your customers are safe as well as their money. How do you go about in ensuring that your bank is safe from your own people, from your own employees, from the people that you are hiring?
Yeah. Would you like me to take it?
Sure.
Yeah, so another sort of good question. So, we know in Samoa the fraud case that ANZ unfortunately had, and the business has learned tremendously through that process. Now, you all live here, you know some of the social dynamics that plays on a day-to-day basis that sometimes leads to these risks appearing in our business. But we've done a significant amount of work to reshape how we think about internal risk management. So we look at risk both in financial terms as well as non-financial terms. And as a part of the process, what we have been able to use is, as Shayne was saying, our differentiator is technology. So how can we use technology better to create more controls within our system so that those risks cannot eventuate? The second element that we have been able to do is the second strength that Shayne talked about, which is our connectivity. So we have been able to connect across the Pacific and learn and create enough segregation of duties so that those risks that played out would not occur again. And then the third element of this is culture, right? You're as strong as your people and the culture that you drive. Unfortunately, you were not there upstairs, but today was a really good demonstration of our speak up culture, where over 95% of our staff are Samoans, born and bred. The amount of questions everyone feels they can ask to a group CEO, it was very different long time ago. It's very different now. So some of it is also about creating that safe space for our people. When you see something, say something. And lastly, ANZ offers a lot of unique channels where people can raise anything that they see, and they are protected through those channels, and we encourage and communicate the use of those channels as well.
Just to follow up, please. Sorry. Because I'm a client of ANZ.
Thank you for banking with us.
I did apply for a lending. I did pay it off. But, with all this, is there still trust within Samoan employees for you guys in order? Because I know that when I asked for a loan, you guys had to approve it for Fiji. So is there a trust here in Samoa now?
Yes. So I'll explain just at a high level. It's not a function of trust. It's about leveraging scale and creating faster outcomes for customers. So what we have been able to do is we've got very strong expertise in one part of our bank which services the entire Pacific. So we have said, what can we do to help Samoans get to a decision faster, right? And what that does is our lenders locally capture all the information. They are the ones who are recommending that this is a good deal for us to sign up on. So effectively, it's not someone else making a sole decision. They are using the information that we are collecting, getting to know you and your aspirations. So what we've done is created a level of segregation which allows us to move things, and this allows also to us to see how we vary those decisions between different markets, and why would we do that, and how can we create more opportunities for our Samoan customers. So it's actually, if anything, I think, as you look at banking globally, one of the things I've been encouraging our staff to embrace is that, you need to build a muscle to think broadly now. Gone are the days where everything ran in one place, everything in one location. It's like we know our world is interconnected more than ever, and banks are no different. We connect, we leverage, we create opportunities for our staff as well as our customers.
Yeah, it's not about trust. It's a great question though. I mean, the other thing that's happening and will happen here eventually as well is a lot of the credit decisions, in fact most of them in other markets are not even made by people, they're made by machines. So the decisions on, if you apply for a credit card in most countries, there's no person who looks at it, it's a machine who decides. And so the actual decisioning increasing because it's built on data and analytics, will just use technology to say yes or no. Yeah. So the real point, so it's not about an issue of trust of our Samoan colleagues. The best thing our people can do here is have relationships and service customers and leave the approval things to the machines to do those things. Yeah.
Just your point though about Samoa versus Fiji, you asked about the fraud before. I mean, the work we've done in Samoa and what we've learned here, we're now applying that to all the other countries in the Pacific. So Samoa has led the way, on that piece. So, we take the best of all of our countries and apply it across the Pacific. That's a great example of Samoa doing that really well.
The program, Money Minded Literacy Program, is this program only for ANZ customers?
Anyone. We actually, so one of the things we're very conscious of is we don't want this program to be seen as ANZ wanting to sell you something. It's the integrity of the program is about financial literacy, and we do that in that spirit. We talk about the principles of financial management as opposed to necessarily saying ANZ has got this product which then solves this. So we are very careful about that because we want to make sure that the integrity and the intent of that program is never lost. And we've done that wonderfully, not just in Samoa, but across the Pacific.
One more. In relation to your aunt today,
Yeah.
Samoa, can you please...
Sure. Sorry, yes, I have an unusual relationship with Samoa. My mother's oldest brother, his wife was Samoan, and we were very, very close. So when I grew up, my aunt, we would see every weekend, and we went on holidays together, etc., etc. So I grew up with Samoan cooking and food and etc. So yes, so that was my connection. And actually, I met one of my relatives last night at a function we had, and I'm seeing some of my family who are Samoan later today as well. So yeah.
Welcome to Samoa.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Yeah.
Do you think the demand from the customers, from the who are trying to lend. Do you think, from your own perspective, that our culture plays a huge role in this demand from the consumer side in terms of wanting to lend, with their commitments in the village and the church, that a contributing factor in terms of the customers wanting to lend, with so much going on and so much in their plate, that they have so many demands with so little that they have.
So our problem, I think it's a great question, and it's a challenge, and I'm obviously not an expert on Samoa, but as we've been saying, our job is to lend responsibly and make sure that when people are borrowing, they're borrowing for the right reasons. And if people are just living beyond their means, that's not a good reason. That because we're not solving a problem there, we're actually we're creating a bigger problem. Yeah. So that's why we need to understand why somebody wants to borrow money. Yeah. What's the purpose of the loan? That's really, really, whether it's a business, an individual, doesn't matter. We need to understand why. Yeah. And there are very legitimate reasons sometimes. I want to invest in my business. I want to build a new factory. I want to buy a home. Maybe I do have some short-term needs. Maybe I need to send my child to school or university, and those things are reasonable. But the idea that I just don't have enough money to meet my obligations. But I think I understand that is a challenge. I totally understand that. That would be irresponsible for us to lend in those circumstances, because those people, that's not a, that's a more fundamental challenge. And that's why, going back to Money Minded, is trying to explain that's not a solution. Whether it's from ANZ or somebody else, just borrowing your way to as a means to live, it can't be the right thing. So one of the most fundamental principles is we all need to learn to spend less than we earn. Now, it sounds very simple, but it's a very important, hey, you have to live within your means.
Can't having champagne on a beer budget.
Sorry, exactly.
I'll just add that one of the good things in the way we deliver Money Minded locally is Rita, who delivers the course for us. She uses a lot of her personal experience. We deliver often in Samoan, and because she lives here, she was born here, she understands the obligation. One of the skills that she shares is how to respectfully say no, right? Which can be quite hard. And how do you navigate that in your villages, in your community, and how do you realize the consequence of in-the-moment decision, which can have lifetime impacts? So it's a really important element of going through that course that we think will drive huge amount of uplift and people feeling more confident in knowing when to say yes and when to say no.
So what days do you do these?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a demand-led, so we reach out to communities and whoever wants us, we want to make sure that we are investing the time appropriately, so it's a sizable group, and then we can arrange that with those groups. Earlier this week, I actually attended the one with Women in Business, which was about 37 people, and we did it, so we are now talking to them about doing one in Savai. So the idea is to make sure that we will want to be part of it. So if you think there is a community which would benefit from it, send me an email. We'll make sure that we get planned around it.
Last question, please. Are you able to confirm the amount of customers you have here in Samoa and also the Pacific?
Yeah, Sarah, do you want to talk about the Pacific numbers?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it sort of depends on how you define a customer, but we've got, over 200,000 customers across the Pacific, so very large. Fiji is our largest market and follows sort of closely behind by Samoa as one of our larger markets too. So very broad customer base. We focus on retail banking and also commercial customers, so that's where we sort of play in the market, and we like to think we are there for our customers. As Shayne said, we really aim to bring the best of ANZ to our customers, and the fact that we are such a large Australia New Zealand sort of orientated bank, we bring amazing technology and services to our customers, and we're really proud of that.
I've had a wonderful visit. It's only 2 days, but we've packed a lot in. We spent wonderful time with the Prime Minister. with the Minister of Finance, Central Bank Governor. We've spent time with our customers, our people. I've learned a lot in a short period of time. The business here is in good shape. It's growing, which is really wonderful to see. And as I said, our focus is making sure that Samoa remains connected to not just the Pacific, but the rest of the world. And that, we need to better understand the unique challenges that Samoa has. Just like any other country, it has things that are uniquely challenging. And to be here, to hear it firsthand rather than just read about it, is hugely valuable. And that means that, we'll go back and Sarah and I will think about what do we do differently as a result of the visit. And, we've already got some ideas on that which we'll share at the appropriate time. Thank you.